In this video, we're going to go to the Starbucks website in order to help you obtain the financial data that's required to be able to do the term project. All right, so when you come to Starbucks' website, you'll see a menu bar over here, but you'll have to scroll down to get the information for financial data. So if you scroll down all the way to the bottom, you'll see About Us, Our Company, Investor Relations, and you'll click on Investor Relations. Normally, for most companies, they have some type of investor relations link where they house all their financial data. So when you click on Investor Relations, you'll look at the top menu bar and you'll see the Investor Relations Home, Press Releases, Events and Presentations, Financial Data. So when you hover over Financial Data, you'll see annual reports pop up, quarterly results, SEC filings, etc., etc. So you click on Annual Reports, and then that will bring you to a page that has all of its annual reports. And they highlight the last annual report, which is fiscal year 2018. But if you scroll down just a little bit, you'll see the past annual reports, and you'll have little arrows over here. You click on that and it'll take you to the past annual reports. This goes all the way back to 2003, I think. So it's 2002. Well, actually, it goes much further back, all the way to 1999. So for our project, whether you do at least 3 years or go to 6 years of financial data, this is how you obtain that data, by going to the past annual reports, and you can get as much data as you need going back into the past. So we're going to click on fiscal year 18 annual report, and that will bring you to Starbucks annual report page. Now the difference between an annual report and a 10K, which is required by the SEC, is that the 10K information is normally housed within an annual report, which is a broader document that management publishes for market relations, investor relations purposes. So in their document they have on their website, you'll see the annual report, and normally you'll see information that's related to that, which contains a 10K. And inside the 10K, you'll have different items under the table of contents. So item number 1's business. If you click on that, you'll see information about Starbucks' business, a little bit about their history, what they're all about, how they're actually organized. And then if you click on risk factors, item 1A, that will take you down to the risk factors. Now this is going to be needed for your next part of the project, when you actually have to do the analyzation of the risks for the company, and when you go to the store for store level operations. Now the information that we need to be able to pull for our financial data for the spreadsheets is, if you scroll down to part 2, you come down to item 8, and it says financial statements and supplementary data. So when you click on that, it will take you to a page, and the first item you'll see is the consolidated statements of earnings. So the statement of earnings is just another name for income statement. And here Starbucks breaks down their revenues. So they tell you how much revenue they have from their company operated stores, licensed stores, and other. And they'll give you total revenues. Then you'll give an item that says cost of sales, and this is another name for cost of goods sold. And then you'll have your different operating expenses. And eventually you're going to come down to where it says net earnings attributable to Starbucks. So it's this line is the bottom line net income. And you'll see that they have the different years, 2018, 2017, 2016. Now for our project, what I want you to do is, when you write out the spreadsheet, you'll take the earliest year, and that will go into the first column. But for informational purposes that the SEC requires, you start with the latest year and you work backwards in their disclosures. Now if you scroll down a little bit further, you'll see another item that says consolidated statements of comprehensive income. This we're not going to require in the project. You can skip over this. This is for intermediate to advanced accounting concepts. If you scroll down, you'll see consolidated balance sheets. So these are the balance sheets that you're going to be working with. So you'll see again, 2018 is the latest, 2017. And then you'll see how they set up their balance sheet like a normal balance sheet. You'll have your assets in one section, you'll have your liabilities and equity in another section. In the assets section, they start out with the current assets and they list the current assets, and that's normally listed in order of liquidity. Then they have the next section, long-term investments, equity and cost investments, property, plant, and equipment. So you'll notice that they do not separate out current assets and a section called long-term assets. But for the spreadsheet purposes, you're going to insert long-term assets inside here. And then you'll scroll down, you'll have total assets. So again, they don't have total long-term assets, but for purposes of our spreadsheet, again, you're going to insert a line right inside here between goodwill and total assets and calculate the long-term assets. Underneath that, you have liabilities and equity, and they list out all the current liabilities, but again, they don't list out long-term liabilities in a separate line item and total long-term liabilities in a separate line item, and that you have to insert on your spreadsheet as well. And then we have stockholders' equity. The name for that is shareholders' equity. We don't have to go into too much detail about that. That's for your next level accounting class. But for now, I want you to include all this information on your spreadsheet. And then you'll have total liabilities and equity. If you scroll down a little further, you'll come to the statements of cash flows, again for all the years that they disclose, normally 3 years. And then you'll have an area called operating activities, investing activities, and financing activities. Okay, so those are the 3 areas that you'll have to deal with. Now, I want you to take down all the information and put it on the spreadsheet, but there's only certain pieces of information that you're going to be required to actually analyze, and we'll look at that in our next video. Okay, so if you scroll down a little further, you'll have other selected data, and then you'll have what's called the notes to the consolidated financial statements. And it's in these notes that you'll get much more detailed information as to what's contained in the income statement and the balance sheet. So the income statement will have just a summary line item data, but if you go down to the notes for the financial statements, and you'll see different pieces of information that will help you understand more about those individual items. A lot of this you'll see is actually related to the balance sheet. So if you want to understand about inventory, you go to note 5, it says inventories, and that's on page 71, and you'll scroll down to, this on page 53, you'll scroll down to page 71, and then you'll get that information about inventories and how they account for that. So we come down to 71, and you'll see inventories right here. So I'll get a little bit more detailed in their inventories. So actually what's contained: coffee, they have unroasted and roasted, other merchandise held for sale, and packaging and other supplies. They all list as inventory. And this will tell you a little bit more about the inventory. Okay, going back, now this is for the first part. As for the second part of your project, when you start to look at risks, you're going to come back up to here, item 1A, and you're going to look at risk factors, and you're going to deal with them. And we'll talk about them in a separate video. All right, that's it for now.